For many gardeners, trimming a hedge is a daunting task, especially if that hedge is tall. Today, I'm going to show you how to use a hedge trimmer properly and safely. Now this is the kind of thing we're talking about. Battery operated, so much better than the ones which are operated with an electric cable. The danger of cutting through them is just too much to contemplate. This has a rechargeable battery in the top. It's got 3 things that you have to pull to make it go, and that makes sure it's safe to operate. It's great for long hedges, for large amounts of clipping, and if you look at the spacing of these teeth here, the wider the space, the thicker the stem it will cut. Generally speaking, anything up to 1/4 of an inch is fine on most of them. This will probably go a little bit more because the spacing between these blades here is that little bit wider. That's for larger hedges. This is a smaller one for small topiary. Now is a great time to prune deciduous hedges, hedges that lose their leaves, particularly because the birds haven't quite started nesting yet, and that's vital. Once the birds have started nesting, stay away, you don't want to disturb them. Evergreen hedges, it depends which hedge you're clipping. Yew is best clipped around about September, October when its growth spurt is finished. These are great for clipping yew. You can see them here behind me. They're clipped in about October. That way they stay crisp right the way through till spring when growth starts again. When it comes to weather, try to avoid cutting when it's wet, particularly with things like box, and box blight can be transmitted much more readily when the foliage is wet. Also, avoid frosty days because the freshly cut ends on stems won't appreciate being frozen solid. These are very, very sharp tools. They can easily have your finger off, in spite of the fact they're only driven by battery. So be safety aware. It's not overkill to wear a helmet like this with a visor. Even tiny leaves that fly up and go into your eye can mean time in A&E. The ear defenders will protect your ears from the continuous noise, and the gloves, which have been specially developed for use with things like this, are important too. Get yourself well kitted out, and then you can do a good job and be safe. Now you may end up looking like a stormtrooper from Star Wars, but it's all in a good cause. Check when you're buying one of these hedge trimmers that you can cope with the weight. The lighter it is, the longer you will be able to use it. You may think, oh, that's okay. Believe me, after 15-20 minutes of using this, your arms will ache. This is Choisya ternata, the Mexican orange blossom, not a shrub to prune in winter because it's borderline tender, but I want to show you the technique I use. I've got it either side of the drive here, and I've clipped it into this rolling C. So the important thing to do is to watch the technique and to be smooth and sweeping in your movements, but to do it in summer. Visor down, machine on, here we go. The secret with a hedge like this is smoothness of stroke. Don't stab at it because you'll get a terrible finish. Go in sweeps because you can always go back over the bit you've done, and you can come up from the bottom and over the top, or the other way around. It really doesn't matter. Just keep it smooth. Try and enjoy it. You're creating something really rather lovely. Now, if you've got a long run of hedging, like this one, if you start cutting it with a pair of shears now, you may be done in about 3 years' time, right? So that's where these come into their own. This is a mixed country hedge. It's got field maple, it's got a bit of holly, it's got wild roses, all kinds of British native hedging plants in it. Apart from the odd bit of holly which is interspersed, this is a deciduous hedge, a hedge that loses its leaves in winter, and that's the best time to cut it. And it's at this time of year that I get my helmet on, get my ear defenders on, and make a difference. So that's the technique, is to use it from the bottom to the top, so you're sweeping upwards the whole time. If you cut from the bottom upwards, it falls out of the way as you're cutting it. If you start cutting at the top, everything you cut off falls onto the stuff below and makes it much harder to cut. And all I need to do now is to rake up and clear up, but that encourages the hedge to thicken up. And that's an important point. Too many people plant a new hedge, let it get up to the height they want, and then cut it. Don't wait. Prune it when it's lower than the eventual height of cut you want, because it will thicken up lower down. But with a taller hedge, you need a different bit of kit. Taller hedges demand longer hedge trimmers. The batteries on the end, the controls, all three again are here. There's a handle to enable you to make it more wieldy, and the great thing here is that this blade can be moved, the angle can be changed. So if you were cutting a shorter hedge, you can go along the top like that, and if you wanted to cut this one at an angle there, if that feels more comfortable, great. I prefer this to be absolutely straight. The great thing about this is that it will cut right the way to the top of this hedge without me having to stand on a ladder, and that makes life an awful lot easier. On tall hedges in particular, this visor is really very useful. You're aware of a lot of stuff falling down that would otherwise go in your eyes. So it just goes to show that with a good piece of kit, you can achieve a good job. The important thing is that you maintain it well. Keep these blades well oiled. A bit of silicone sprayed on there keeps them running smoothly. When the sap gets dried on, use some emery paper to get it off. Then you're making clean cuts to leave a healthy hedge. And I reckon, with a good bit of kit that's well looked after, you're producing a job that is very pleasing, and that hedge is ready for a spring ahead. Quite pleased with that. If you want more gardening advice and inspiration like this, then why not subscribe to my channel? I'm posting new videos every week.